Issues. Irene Winters has joined us, Fine Gael councillor, all-rounder, some would say, from Wicklow town. Irene, thanks for coming in. There's a few different things we want to talk about this morning, but can we first start with the Murrough, because it doesn't matter whether you're from Cllr or Wicklow town, the Murrough is in all our hearts. My interests will be declared now, and that my family home is on the Murrough, so that is why I have seen over the years an absolute beautiful place being worn away, and it seems to be gone.
Certainly one full section of it is now gone, and they have put in remedial works now, which will, I suppose, protect it as an access route to the rest of the Murrough. It would be fantastic to think in time that we would do work which would actually replenish it, and I suppose when Minister Harris and the OPW made the 450,000 available last year, it was really to do remedial works and to just like a stopgap to make sure that there was no further erosion and that we didn't lose the rail line and that we did have access to the rest of it. But even when I moved to Wicklow, which is 30 years ago, you could drive on the Murrough. People used to actually go up and take driving lessons. I mean, you can barely walk along it now. So there's a huge amount of work to be done. The work that's done, or that's in the progress of doing, as I say, it is only an access route effectively to the rest of the Murrough. We now have to actually go out and seek real funding from EU. And I know that not just my party, but I know that Councillor Snell has been working on it. All of the councillors from all parties are trying to see how we can actually secure funding from Europe to actually put in works that will replenish the Murrough. It used to be that the Murrough replenished from, the waves come in, they wash the beach sands up and down the beach. The Strand Street and Bath Street used to flood, so there was rock armour put in up at the harbour to stop that happening, and then that caused the erosion to move further down. At the moment, the works that we're putting in hopefully won't, because they're tapered at the end, won't have the same erosion further on up the way, and they're trying to minimise that, but it will have. So we have to say this is only the start of it. This is not the end of it. We have to go and seek. And I know since I became a councillor, we've been seeking EU funding. But I spoke with the CEO of Irish Rail last year, and he said that he has 5 kilometres of track that he feels are under threat the whole way up from Wicklow town to Kilcool, and all of that area has to be protected. Now, for him, what he wants, I suppose, not what he wants, but for him, rock armour is the simple answer because it protects his rail line. What we want is a solution that will, 1, protect the rail line, but 2, protect the amenity and the natural habitat that the Murrough is, and that's what we're looking for.
And actually, I think the late Councillor Pat Kavanagh should also be mentioned. I know
absolutely.
She really did do a lot of good work. As you're saying, I mean, it's cross-party, as you say. You mentioned Councillor Snell down in Rathnew, and it isn't a party political thing. But has Fine Gael, has the government, whether the last one or this one, did they not move too late on this issue? Did they not act too late?
All of us have acted too late, and I would go back, if you want to go back, in 1996 there's dull transcripts of Dick Roche and Shane Ross sharing time in the Shannon talking about how the Murrough needed to be protected. 4 years later, Dick Roche was the Minister for the Environment. He had, and that was at a time when we were supposedly in the Celtic Tiger. It was within his remit at that stage to make the money available. So yes, I wish our government had made money available, but even when we had money, the previous administration didn't make money available. People, I suppose, didn't see it as a high priority until it actually became an absolute necessity to the national rail line. And now we realise that not only that we have their focus of their attention on the fact that we could use a rail link or lose this rail link, now we will also look at not just a protective measure but a replenishment measure.
Now, moving on to a couple of different issues, if we could. Irene, you're listening to Irene Winters here talking local politics on Wicklow this week. Irene, with Brexit now, obviously there's a big focus on EU and the European Union. You've actually just been appointed to a particular position, as a result of your Fine Gael membership. Tell us about that.
Yeah, the Committee of the Regions, and well, again, can I just say there are cross-party councillors. It's not just government party councillors that are elected to it or sent to it. the Committee of the Regions is designed to look at forthcoming EU legislation to see how it will impact on a local and a regional basis, so that we can actually feed up before the legislation is passed. So they have usually six plenary sessions a year, where you're appointed to different, say, subgroups. I would obviously be interested, if I could, to get on the one that will cover the type of stuff that does funding for the Murrough and all of that sort of stuff, so that I can actually use it in a very local way as well, which is what it's designed for. It is the Committee of the Regions to look at local issues. So I would hope that I would get on one of those subgroups, and then we look at the legislation that they're proposing and what impact it will have. We make a report on it, send in our opinions, and then there's a plenary session where those opinions are voted on and then passed back up to the EU. So I suppose a lot of people wouldn't be aware of it. I would hope that as I become more involved in the whole procedure, that I would actually be bringing that back on a local level, so that not just my fellow councillors, but people in general know that they do actually have an input, not at the final stage or when it's a fait accompli, but actually at the very beginning, and say, look, they're talking about proposing legislation in this area, what impact will it have on you? And the people would feed that back to me so that I can go and bring it to Europe.
Now, can I ask you a question I have, to be fair, thrown to a few different councillors who have come on, and that is Cllrs Pay. Now, I asked Jennifer Whitmore about it. She says it needs to change. Tell us what's going on with Cllrs Pay, because you are on LAMA, I believe, which is the councillors' body.
That's right, the Local Authority Members Association. Councillors, despite what you read in the newspapers, Cllrs Pay is €16,900 a year. And then on top of that, depending on how far you live from your county buildings, say I would live very close to it, so my expenses are €400 a month, and that's to cover my petrol costs, my phone costs, etc., to allow me to go to all of the meetings that I go to. So I don't get paid to go to the JPC meetings, I don't get paid to go to the Wicklow County Tourism meetings or any of those other boards that I sit on. So I take home, after taxes, I take home €1,600 a month. If you live in West Wicklow, you would take home slightly more, because obviously you have a much greater mileage to attend all of your meetings if you're coming from West Wicklow. It's not enough. It's very no person can look at being a councillor as a sole income. You have to supplement it with some other work, or else you have to be independently wealthy. And unless they actually review it, it's going to go back to the situation where being a councillor will be, I suppose, left to the privilege of the wealthy, or to people who use it as a second job. And I actually think that local democracy is too important to be left as a second job or a part-time job. It should be seen for what it is, and people should be committed to actually being a full-time councillor.
So Leo Varadkar, who now has the purse strings of social protection, now although Simon Coveney has purse strings as well, and they are jostling for the leadership, so we're told, Leo Varadkar wants to change the way councillors pay PRSI, doesn't he? Or that's one option on the table.
Well, I don't know that he wants to change it. He has been asked.
Nothing to do with his leadership now, does it, Irene?
No, AILG, which is one of the bodies that represent policies in relation to councillors, and LAMA, which would be for all the world like the Councillors Union, both have said that at the moment we pay PRSI as councillors at a thing called K class. So we pay 4% PRSI, and for that we get absolutely nothing. Now, most people get nothing for their PRSI either, but they do actually, it does allow them to contribute or to gain credit towards a contributory old age pension. So say for every year that I am a councillor, I am effectively reducing my old age pension by being a councillor, because it doesn't count, so I don't have any contributions. So the more years I stay as a councillor, when I retire, I will get less and less as a contributory old age pension. So what we would say to the Minister is that he should change us from K class to S class. Now, some councillors who are hitting retirement age are saying, look, I just prefer the cash in my pocket. So he said, well, look, what do councillors want? Do they want to either pay S class, or do they just want to cease paying PRSI altogether because they get nothing for it? if we were to cease paying PRSI altogether, you would gain an extra €656 in your take-home pay. It's not that he's given us a pay increase, it's just a change in taxation system. My gross pay or my P60 will still be €16,950.
I have declared my views on this programme about this before, and I have to say, if we want councillors who are good and are high quality and are going to work hard, and we want young people to become councillors, they have to be paid. And this whole argument that we can't give more money for politicians really is bogus, I think. And if we want a good calibre of councillor, we need to pay them. Irene, just we were talking about Leo and Simon there. When is the leadership issue going to be resolved in Fine Gael?
Oh, now there is the question. I would think that the whole Brexit issue, which is probably much more important for the country, is something that will change the focus on the leadership. I actually think Enda Kenny does a good job. I think he's going to be there for the foreseeable future. I think it certainly will be next spring or maybe next summer before we will see any change in the leadership in Fine Gael.
What if Fianna Fail pull the plug?
I don't believe that Fianna Fail want to go to the country, and I don't think there is an appetite within even the general population for a general election. And if they were to pull the plug in the morning, I think people would see it for what it was, and I actually don't think it would impact on Fine Gael.
But one of the issues that is certainly going to rear its head again, as you know, Irene, is the issue of Irish water. Water charges, something I think Fine Gael would wish would go away, but it's not going to go away. And without preempting what this commission is going to say, this commission that's going to look at the issue of charges, it's likely it's going to say charges need to come back in.
I think it will, but if you look, say, at the Fianna Fail manifesto, what they always said was that they were going to suspend charges. They never said they weren't going to charge for water. So I think if the Commission does come back and say that there will be charges and that there has to be a case of that the user pays, I think they will probably relook at free allowances to make sure that everybody gets a certain amount per person that lives in a household free. That's my only personal view. I have no idea what the Commission's going to come back and say. And then I think that there will be a charge. I don't think it will be as hefty as had originally been proposed, but I think it will be around the mark that we were currently paying. €160 a year is what we were paying, and I think that's probably what we're going to end up paying.
And by the way, if there is a general election next year, will your name be on the ticket?
No.
Absolutely not?
I would think that would be most unlikely.
You ran 3 candidates last time and got 2.
We ran 3 candidates and we got 2, and it's not that I wouldn't have an interest. I suppose it's just that the geography of the situation, is part of politics. In the East we have Minister Harris and we also have Minister Doyle. So there's no room for me in this area.
Well, we'll wait and see, and we'll see whether your words will ring true. Listen, Irene, thank you very much for joining us on Wicklow this week. Always a good sport. Irene Winters, Fine Gael councillor from Wicklow Town. That's all I have time for today.